Buongiorno ragazzi! Oggi facciamo una ricetta di ciabatta con olive e pinoli. Okay guys, so for those of you who don't know any Italian, we're making a ciabatta recipe today with olives and pine nuts, two classic Italian ingredients, and I really love this particular version of ciabatta. Obviously ciabatta is, really well known Italian bread, but adding the olives and the pine nuts is just fantastic. It gives it loads of flavour and just really reminds me of going on a holiday in Italy, especially the Ligurian coast in the northwest of Italy, where they use a lot of olives and pine nuts. So really do try this recipe, it's absolutely fantastic. Using one of these KitchenAids for your ciabatta recipe really makes a huge difference. It's just because the ciabatta dough is quite wet. You can also obviously mix it by hand, but the KitchenAid is just so easy. And like, as always, I'm always telling people, if you're making a lot of bread, like, a few times a week, having one of those machines just takes all the effort and all the work out of making bread. So they really are amazing for that. And our other ingredients are pretty cool. I've got 400 grams of white spelt flour here. Spelt flour was actually used a lot by Romans, in the Roman Empire. So using spelt flour really makes this bread even more Italian. And spelt flour just makes the best, sort of lightest and stretchiest dough. Really fantastic type of flour. So if you can get your hands on it, get it. If not, just use white bread flour, no problem. Then I'm also using this yellow stuff there, which is semolina, 100 grams of that. Semolina, again, classic Italian ingredients, and it adds so much flavour to your bread. It's just really rustic, great stuff. And so you just add that to your bowl. And then we have our pine nuts, just lightly toasted for 5 minutes or so to release the flavour. Put that in as well. And then we're getting our olives, just about sort of a big handful of mixed olives, whichever ones you prefer. And adding these now just makes it all a lot easier. You could add them later too, but it's just a lot easier this way. And then you of course need your yeast, 1 tablespoon about. Bit more yeast than usual, but it really needs that. And about a tablespoon of salt as well. Again, it needs more salt. Just adds loads of flavour. And then you use 400 ml of lukewarm water. Again, that's more water than most bread doughs, but you want a high hydration bread dough for ciabatta. It really makes a huge difference. And then you just put your hook in and turn it on. So after 10 minutes of kneading or so, our dough has come together nicely, but it's very wet still. So touching it with your fingers, makes it stick quite a lot. But it's perfect, it's supposed to be like that. But what I like to do is to use a spatula and just put some oil on it, to work it. And I'm also just putting some extra virgin olive oil on to give it loads of flavor. This really makes a big difference. And our dough now has to rise for about 3 hours, so it's a long time. And even though essentially a ciabatta is just a big blob of dough whenever you bake it, you do want to give it some shape and some structure, especially when it's rising. So I'm going to show you a technique how you can fold over your dough and give it some shape while it's rising, and you should do this every half hour, so about 6 times in total. So here we go. It's very easy, you just use a spatula. Try to put some oil everywhere so it doesn't stick. And don't be worried about using, a lot of oil. That's okay. It just gives a lot of flavor, and I'm sure the Italians wouldn't mind. And it looks okay. You just take your spatula and try to turn it over like that. Maybe the way you would, turn over a cake batter. So you do that from a few different directions. And then whenever it looks good, you add some more oil. There we go. And then you just try to tuck in the edges so that the dough can rise evenly. Put the kitchen towel over it and just let it rest until in half an hour We'll repeat the whole process again, and in 3 hours time the dough will be perfect and really light and ready for baking. So our dough is almost finished. We just have to fold it one last time, and it's rising really well. You can see the air bubbles and so on forming, so that's great. That's a great sign. So yeah, we're just going to fold it one last time so you can see what it looks like. It's really very airy. Still quite sticky, which is good. But this folding gives the bread a nice structure for rising. It really does make a difference, so I do urge you to try it. And whenever you're done, you just try to fold in the edges, some oil, fold it in, just leave it there for a bit more. And then we're going to preheat our oven at 250 degrees Celsius, and whenever that's done we can just pour our dough on a very hot baking tray and we'll make a very nice loaf of ciabatta. So our oven is really hot now, and I've taken out our hot baking tray. I'm just putting some semolina on the bottom so that the bread won't stick afterwards. You take your bread, take a bit more oil again on your spatula, and then very, very gently you will try to pour it over your baking tray so that it shapes kind of a rectangular shape. So just scratch at it gently until it comes away nicely, and then you put it on. Takes some time, but almost done. There we go. Great. And now you just put that into the oven at 250 degrees Celsius for 10 minutes, and then we'll turn it down to 220 degrees Celsius and let it bake for another 10 to 15 minutes. So about 20 to 25 minutes in total. Well, our bread is finished now, and I'm just going to take it out of the oven. Whew, warm. There we are, it looks great. Really fantastic. And now I'm just going to leave it on a cooling rack for about half an hour until it's cooled down a bit, and then I'm going to slice it open to show it to you. So here we are, my bread's finished and it looks absolutely amazing. So really nice big air holes, fantastic ciabatta really. And I love to serve my ciabatta like this. So with a nice, variation of Italian antipasti, and you just take half a clove of garlic and you rub it onto your bread, and it just gives a very light, very savory, just hint of garlic. Absolutely amazing. And then you can just take a few pieces of what you want. So today we have our special guest Claude here, who will taste it and give his verdict on the ciabatta.
It already looks really amazing, and I'm more than glad to try it out.
So,
really fantastic.
Wow. It's so good, isn't it? It's just really, really crunchy on the outside, and it's so light and fluffy. It's an absolutely fantastic texture, but so nice and soft inside. It's just absolutely divine, and it's great with a nice selection of different cheeses and different antipasti. So if you're planning on making an Italian dinner party, or you just want to have some friends and family around and you want to impress them with a very easy to make bread but which tastes $1 million, try this recipe. It is really fantastic.
Nothing more to say about that.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks.
Bye. Ciao ragazzi. Ciao.
Ciao.